Welcome back to Surviving Me, the podcast where healing gets honest. I'm your host, Day. Today's episode is a sacred one. My guest is someone whose story is stitched with strength, softened by grace, and lit with a kind of humor that only comes from surviving the hard things. She's a mental well-being and transformational coach, a mother, an author, a social worker, a speaker, and stand-up comedian. Her book, Arise Kintsugi Queens, is not just a title, it's a movement. And today, we're going beneath the gold to talk about the cracks. So let's jump right on into it. Let's start here. What was the moment you stopped performing strength and started protecting your softness instead?
I wonder, what is softness? I guess, what do we mean by softness? The soft girl era is only a recent fad anyway, and I don't really subscribe to that. But I've always been soft because I never subscribed to the strong black woman archetype or the alpha female archetype. So what I would say in answer to that is there is definitely strength in what we call softness. And I guess I retired from the people pleasing a few years ago. So I realized that no matter what you do or how strong you want to be, however much you sacrifice and bend over backwards, it's still not enough for some people. So I started to discover my own purpose. And when I started sharing my story and all the things that, and I don't think it's just an American thing, I think it's a Western hemisphere thing. When I started sharing all of those things, those vulnerabilities, and it resonated with others, so that was more impactful. And I remembered that it's not about impressing people who don't really value me, but it's about genuinely helping people. And also my faith kind of dictated that as well. So guard your heart because the issues of life flow from it. So we have to safeguard that because otherwise sometimes people will want to exploit that. So you have to have discernment. But I'm all for the soft. I'm here all day. Yes, be soft because there's too much hardness. Where has your, whatever you might call strength, where has that gotten you? And we'll talk about that a bit later because I think too many people suffering in silence in the name of what they think is strength. So
I agree. I totally agree with that. I love that you say that you don't subscribe. It's so classy. I'm here for that saying. I love that. I might steal that from you. But I was so here for when people was getting into the soft girl era because like you said, I don't feel like you as women, we need to take on like, oh, I'm strong. Like I don't need nobody. It's good to be independent. Yes. But sometimes you could get to the point where you're so independent that you just go through life thinking like you don't need nobody, you can do everything alone, when I believe that everybody needs somebody. So I was here for the soft girl era.
Yeah. And don't get me wrong, me too, to a certain extent. So listen, I take myself out on dates. I go traveling around the world and do and I put my nice dress on and my heels and I feel nice and do the hair in there. Yeah, pamper me, massage me, all of it. Yeah, that's nice. But I also realized that I was hyper independent and it was a trauma response. In some respect, it can scare the men away because they're like, oh, you don't need me. It wasn't always, there's a time and place for everything. Sometimes we're in survival mode and we need that kind of strength that is required when you're maybe a single parent like I am. Being feminine is not something we strive to be. We naturally are feminine.
Exactly.
It's just that sometimes I get that some women don't get a chance to show it because they always have to be the strong ones. They have no choice. There's no one else to help them. So
Exactly that. And I think that it's time to put an end to that. Just let softness in, like she was saying. I truly agree with that. So you pour so much into the others you carry. So how do you recognize when your own cup is running low? And what do you do in those moments now that you didn't do before?
Yeah, I mean, gosh, it happened even this week, last week. Yeah, it's just, when life is lifing. I guess I start to notice when I become more irritable than usual. And I get, in the last, 15, 20 years, I used to be a very again, you call strong person in that sense, but yeah, this anxious, this sense of anxiety. Now, I'm not talking clinically, but I recognize that it creeps up on me. And if I generally feel overwhelmed, there's a tension in my body. I feel unsettled and restless in my mind. So I know that as soon as that happens, I really need to just acknowledge, because before I used to deny. I used to say, I'm fine, I'll keep going. No, it's nothing. And I would just go through the motions of life. So now we understand more about ourselves. Even though we think we know ourselves, we go and surprise ourselves, and you 10 years down the line is going to be different from how you are now. So I just know more about my values. So if anything's out of alignment, it often means that somewhere I've compromised my values, or my boundaries have been exploited, they've been crossed. Or it could just be, like I say, life, and it could be anything. So I get curious. That's the first thing I do. Never used to do it before. I used to just carry on until, complete crash. So I take an inventory of my life and I kind of decide, okay, what's the priority? What's going on that you feel so overwhelmed? What is essential now? And I try and reconnect with my purpose, because when I feel the way I had been feeling, it means that I'm out of alignment. So then sometimes I just I pray, I sit in silence, or I might do something that I like to do, a comedy, which is such a release for me. I like to stand up and perform. So that is an outlet for me. So yeah.
I love that. So basically you just had to realize what works for you to calm you down when you're feeling overwhelmed. Because before, as you said, you would just go with the motion. Even though you knew inside that you was feeling overwhelmed, you never even truly acknowledged it. You just continued going on with it. Like, okay, this is just life. This is what it is. Yeah. But now you're saying you actually take that time to acknowledge, like, you know what? I'm overwhelmed. And what do I got to do to reground myself, recenter myself?
Yes, yeah. And still learning, by the way. But up until last year, there were some things that were effective then, but you have to shift and change. And that's why I say I'm rediscovering myself all the time, because I go to the thing that worked before, we go to it. And then when it's not working anymore, even though it's, might be a healthy strategy, you have to, again, reevaluate that, tweak it, change it. And sometimes there's nothing you can do. You have to surrender. I mean, literally, because there are things outside of our control. So it's not about admitting defeat. It's just like, you know what, this is bigger than me. I cannot control it. I cannot change it. So therefore, I have to give it up, literally.
I love all of that. That was so powerful and so real and so true. And more people truly need to do that, because yes, that saying that we like to say, you can't pour from an empty cup. People love to say it, but people don't even really apply it to their lives. People love to be like, oh, you gotta take time for yourself, but nobody actually loves to actually take the time for themselves. I think everyone needs to stop and acknowledge, because it's okay, because it's human. You're going to feel overwhelmed sometimes, because as we like to say, life do be lifing. So because life is always going to life, that means problems are always going to come. And sometimes you may not handle them the best ways, but as long as you take the time to do mental care and self-care, you should be fine. I love that.
Yeah.
We live in a world that teaches us to hide our broken pieces, but your work celebrates them. So when did you first realize your story, the cracks, the flaws, the faith, and all was actually your power?
Through a culmination of events. Throughout the years, there were signs, but sometimes you can only see things in retrospect. Because remember, I believe we're all here. There's no one here. I don't care if you're in jail, don't care where you are. You're here for a reason, yes. And you need to find out what that is. It happens when people pointed out things in me. Sometimes you can't see yourself, so would point things out to me. Oh, you're good at this. This is your strength. This, and I was like, what, me? No, I don't know. And it was when I started to unlearn all the lies and misconceptions that I had had at that point for over 30 years. And I had to learn, all the stuff. And I think we all have it from our childhood. It may have been that teacher that said to you won't amount to much. I mean, I was a class clown. I still am in a way. They're like, you're not going to go very far. You just don't take life seriously. Even from my own family, that you'll never get married. You're not smart enough. You're not good enough. You don't have what it takes. All of that. So all of that conditioning, and of course you might think, oh, it's not true, but you start to believe it if you're told enough. So I had to unlearn all of that, still doing that to an extent. And I realized when people started to come up to me randomly. So I travel a lot. So even they might not even speak English, but they'll be telling me their life story. I'm like, what? I'm thinking, why do these people keep coming to me? And it still happens. I'm still really amazed by that. I'm like, I'm just trying to mind my business, and they do it all the time.
That's a purpose.
And so exactly that. So I think we all the burdens that we carry make us stronger, and there is something about unity when someone shares their story with me and they find comfort. I'm just good at putting people at ease.
Love
so
that.
When people kept saying to me how strong I am, the people say to me, Maz, you're so strong. How come you're not on the psych ward? Because like, if I went through what you went through, I'd be on the psych ward. I said, well, maybe I work there. I work there. And the funny thing is, a lot of the clients and the patients that I see, they're like, crazy, which you should take the medication. I said, I know I am. I said, but they caught you. They didn't catch me yet. Okay. So you just take your medication. But basically what I'm saying is I realized over a period of time, it's been actually about 20 years in the making. I realized that my scars were my weapons, and that they weren't only meant for me. They could benefit others. Others could know that actually you're not alone. And it's such a shame that our traumas, our adversities are so widespread, so common. It shouldn't be that. It shouldn't be the norm, but unfortunately it is.
Yes. It's so crazy that you even said that, like, you realized that about yourself, because that's what I would call a superpower. I'm calling it a superpower because not many people can say that they experienced that. It'd be certain things you hear from people and they be like, oh yeah, I understand that. That happens to me too. But what you saying, people coming up to you and so willing to tell you their story, that don't happen for like the average person. Like, everybody's not just so comfortable enough to walk up to a stranger and start spilling their business. So because they are willing and able to do that to you, that's definitely a superpower. And I love that.
Thank you.
Of course. And as someone who wears many hats, you're a coach, you're a mother, a speaker, a comedian, an author. Yes, you can name them all. I'm here for it. So how do you maintain emotional integrity while showing up in all of those different roles?
I'm not one for titles, but things are not me. I am a human being. But what I do in terms of emotional integrity, because actually sometimes having those diverse roles can mean that I sometimes have to compartmentalize. So clearly when I'm in the office and I'm working for the government as an agent of the state, there isn't much room for certain things. I have to be composed. But maybe as a coach, I have a bit more flexibility. As a mother, she's a young adult, she might say, you ain't got no integrity. You might just catch me without that. But what I try and do is be as self-aware as possible.
Love that.
And I'm always curious. I'm going to keep saying that we should all be curious about myself. I'm curious about myself and others. So I try to create the safe spaces that I would have liked to have had. And I didn't have it when I was bawling my eyes out and I was in the gutter and nobody could even help me. Nobody could even offer empathy. I try and create that for others, even just in every day. So what that allowed me to do was it allows me to be transparent and develop authentic connections with others. And in terms of emotional regulation, I try and do that. Oh gosh, it's hard, but I'm still learning to respond and not to react.
It's definitely hard.
Yeah, it's hard, isn't it?
Yes.
And sometimes, don't get me wrong, I forget myself sometimes, especially, road rage. Yeah, you cut me up and when we drive it, I'll be cussing like a sailor. And my friend the other day, she hadn't seen me. She lived in a different part of the UK. Anyway, she said, Maz, you turned into a monster. I didn't know. I was like, well, So she saw a different light. But I find that through accountability with my own coach and my own mentors and friends, and even previously my therapist, it helps. It helps to have people who have the same faith. So they can check me. They can say, Maz, you're acting out now. Just calm down and just, and I have a word with myself. So that is usually how I manage to maintain that. But I'm just saying, as a human being, yes, I don't get it right all the time. And I tell people about that. They're like, oh my gosh, is that what you did? Did you say that? Yes, that's what I did. And I'm going to try and learn from that and be better,
Love that. Yeah. It sounds like it's so great that you even touched on that, because it goes into our next question so perfectly, because it sounds like what you're basically saying is you just give yourself grace. Like, I'm human. And, sometimes I'm not going to have it all together. And, sometimes I may slip, and sometimes I may react in ways that I probably wouldn't have reacted had I been more sound or whatever. But you know what? I'm human, and I'm giving myself grace. I love that. Because as humans, we don't give ourselves enough grace. So let's talk about grace, especially the kind that meets us after we fall. What have you learned about grace through failure, whether as a parent or as a professional or simply as a woman evolving in the public view?
Ooh, how long you got? Listen, you know what? Life has a way of humbling us all.
Yes.
It will make you eat your words. I say that because I never imagined that I'd be where I am now in many ways. The good, the bad, the ugly. On paper, yeah, I have those titles, but to others, to certain people, this is what I mean, because everyone has a different notion of what success looks like, what strong looks like. To some, well, I'm just some divorced single parent who isn't the best, Yeah, I was living in social housing, and yeah, I made some mistakes. So on paper, to some, it don't look too good. But like I said, I have found that my faith has helped me get through some of those challenging moments. And I actually learned, not through the church, but just by having an intimate relationship with my Creator in what we call these wilderness experiences. And I think we all go through them, but we call them different things. Those experiences that have you questioning who you are, your identity, sometimes your sanity. Yeah. And I think even during COVID, so even if you were the toughest person, when we lost loved ones, some of us lost loved ones, when you lost your job, when that man that you've been married to for so long, you look at him, you can't stand him anymore. When everything changed and the world changed and we had to look at ourselves, that kind of thing. Some kind of existential crisis, I think many of us go through, especially if you live long enough, you will have it. It's coming. Yes. So grace was developed in those adverse times. And it's like I said, with the faith, it's this idea that I'm not alone, because I really needed to know that. And I'm thinking, how come everybody seems to be thriving, and why is life so hard for me? Why am I prone to depression? What is going on? I had to ask these kind of questions, because everybody, that's why this notion of being strong, because sometimes you find that the ones that you think are the strongest, they're battling the same things. Yeah. So we don't need to be like anybody like, Martha in the Bible or whatever, busying ourselves. Yes, we got stuff to get done, but I think I'm learning to just cast this notion that goes back to what I said before. Things you cannot change. It's like the serenity prayer. We want to have the courage to change the things that we can and to surrender what we can't. Yes. And we just need to be good stewards of the resources. So we've been given certain things, whether that's wealth, finances, or if you don't have that, some of you are blessed with family. Some of you have a great job. Some of you have certain privileges that people would just pray for. They'd be like, I wish I was like her. And you're there taking it for granted, saying, oh, it's nothing. It's not nothing. Right. Somebody wants what you have. I hope that answers the question, because I find that we have to be able to mourn the loss of how we wanted things to be. And I used to carry a lot of regret. Why did I marry him? Why? I don't want to be no single parent. Why I didn't want to be like this? But that's what it is. That's the reality. Now, how do we move forward? So I need to be able to extend the same grace that I give to other people. I need to give that to myself.
Yes.
So, yeah.
That was so powerful. As human beings, I feel like it's just so easy for us to naturally just give grace to other people because we go with the notion like, people go through things. You just never know what somebody going through. But I don't understand why we don't have the same notion of doing that for ourselves. Like, okay, people go through things, but you know what? So I go through things too. And sometimes stuff be knocking me on my butt, but you know what? I got up and it may not have went exactly how I wanted it to go, but you know what? How do we go? How do I make the best of my situation?
Right.
Basically. I love that. So who you are now came at a cost. It's so great how when you answer one question, you tie into the next question, which I love so much. But what's one identity you had to grieve in order to embrace who you are becoming now?
I had to laugh at it. How many identities do you think I have? What are you trying to say? Multiple personalities. No, you know what? I've had to grieve many of them, but more recently goes back to letting go of the way we wanted it to be. So the wife thing, I was someone's wife for a minute, but I suppose it didn't mean as much to him as it did to me. So that was a situation and that brought me quite a lot of shame at the time. And that ties into this most recent identity that I've had to grieve. So my daughter, what have you heard, father was abroad. And, when you're a single parent, and my daughter doesn't look like me. She's very light skinned. They were like, where you get that Chinese baby from? Is your husband Chinese? I'm like, no, what are you talking about? I felt as I had to explain. I was like, she's not born out of wedlock. And, especially to the church, how they say. So yeah, all of that shame that was carried around because I couldn't quite explain the situation, why her father was not in the country. And you can't quite explain that to people. You can't explain that, okay, there's some immigration issues here. That's your personal business.
Right.
But, more recently now, she's nearly 20 years old. My daughter, I've raised her as a single parent. We made the best of it.
But the
identity of a mother. So that is the most, because I've got this empty nest thing going on. So she's still in my house, but I don't know if you've got girl children, but yeah, they're different. And Gen Zs are different anyway.
Yeah,
and
there's
things that are lost in translation. Yeah, and the girls are just different. They're different. Yeah.
I tell people it's hard being a girl.
Right, and that's another thing, not wanting to repeat generational cycles and all of that. So you have to handle them with more grace than perhaps our parents would have given us, So I'm grieving that. So not one of those helicopter mothers or anything like that. But what I'm learning is that let her make her mistakes. In terms of the parenting, didn't get it right, as my daughter reminds me all the time. The other day, she's like, you should have just given me away. I'm like, what? I just asked you to wash the plates. What's wrong with you? What do you mean?
Right.
I recognize it's a common trait. What do they call the Gen Zs? The anxious generation. They're
very dramatic. They're very dramatic.
Yeah, like, are you okay? Just wash the plates. I asked you to do the dishes. Like, what's wrong with you? But yeah, so I'm learning. And then she says, psychoanalyzing me. I'm not one of your patients. I said, well, you be acting like it. So, so yeah, all of that, learning to let go, forgiving myself for the mistakes that I made, and just knowing that my assignment, so I'm still her mother. Yes, I'm a mother, but she's not a baby anymore, doesn't need me as much.
Right.
And so that's why I embarked on my solo travel adventures after COVID. You're able to do more things. So I'm just learning how to let go, and I'm learning. So my identity, not as mother, not as someone's wife, is coming through. And I actually enjoy doing a lot of things by myself, and I'm quite a social butterfly, but I really enjoy this new era, going out to the theater, taking myself on date. I love it. I'm like, I should have done this a long time ago.
No, I love that. And I think a lot of people are stepping into that era of just realizing that sometimes you don't always need somebody to go do the things that you've been wanting to do. If you don't have nobody that you've been wanting to do the stuff that you want to do, you could just do it yourself. I know a lot of people don't like to do that because they may feel like, it'll feel lonely, or like it won't be as enjoyable had they shared it with somebody else. But what I'm realizing is a lot of people who I've talked to who stated that they started doing that, taking themselves out on dates and going to see shows and stuff, the stuff that they want to do that they may not have somebody to do it with, and they all say they love it. I never heard no negative things about anybody going to go through things themselves. So I love this new era of loving yourself and, dating yourself. That is great.
And just one more thing I'll say on that is it's inspired because, like many of us, I always used to say, someday I'm going to go here, I'm going to do that. And then I guess after all of the death and destruction that COVID left, I said, you know what? That day is today, because I lost some loved ones who had plans. They planned to travel. They planned to do this. Even some of the patients on the ward, they got sick. Many people had COVID. They died. They savings. And I'm like, you had all that money. You didn't get to spend it. You were waiting for that day. That day never came. So I was like, you know what? Everything that I said I'm going to do, everything on the bucket list, let's do it. We're doing it now. We're doing it now.
Because if you think about it in that light, what are we really waiting for exactly? Like, I know people like to say, I'm just waiting for the right moment. But for real, when is it ever the right moment? Stuff is always going to happen. That's life. It's bound to happen. So, yes, I feel like COVID definitely was a culture shock for a lot of people, because it showed people the world can stop. Your comedy disarms pain. And sometimes laughter cracks something open. Is there a joke or a moment or a lesson from the stage that surprised even you with its healing power?
Yeah, well, most definitely. Comedy is one of the outlets that I've had, and it really is. It does provide me with a therapeutic release. I don't tend to take life too seriously. I mean, I do sometimes. There's a time and a place, but life can be so tragic, as we've just spoken about, but yet so ridiculously funny. It could be so funny.
No, for real.
On stage, I will do a show. I just do basic pubs, clubs, theaters, whatever, whoever books me. I'll go, listen, give me some food and a drink, I'm there. You ain't got to pay me much. I go on stage, I make jokes. Some of them are from my trauma, only because it's quite relatable. So, for example, and just so you know, I'm speaking from my scars rather than my wounds. I have to say that because my therapist at the time, she's like, Maz, you shouldn't do that because it's not funny. I'm like, yeah, it wasn't funny then, but it is now. So, for example, growing up in a Jamaican household, listen, all the Jamaicans, all of us from the Caribbean, we know that's mostly, unless you had really, really nice parents who were like, the Cosby Show or something. We know that it was trauma. Yeah. We know that, listen, all of us got beat up. We got beat up. Listen, you couldn't talk, you couldn't even look at them any. So I make jokes about that. I talked about the time when I was breaking curfew and I came in and I woke up. You think you got away with it, you get in the bed, and then all of a sudden you wake up seeing stars because my mama laid me flat out. Wake up, you're like, what? Yeah. I know, some of my white friends were like, oh my God, it's terrible. Is that what she did? So I was like, yeah. I said, didn't yours? But funnily enough, all the immigrant parents. So one Polish guy said, yeah. He's like, my mother's Polish. That's the same. And one Greek guy, yeah, we're the same. So I think it's just an immigrant thing. They just love to beat us. But yeah, that's colonial legacy and all of that. But the point I'm making is we're not mocking generational trauma. We're not saying that's acceptable. It was just so ridiculous. And how Jamaican parents don't have any filter. So when I was big, I think this is a lot of black parents generally anyway, but when I used to be a lot heavier, they're going to tell you, I was looking on the door outside the house. I was like, Mom, let me in. And she's looking at it. She's like, oh, and she knew it was me, but she pretended like she don't know. And she's like, oh, I thought it was Fat Albert rolling down the street. I was like, what? So listen, your self-esteem going to be in the toilet if you raise with these kind of parents. So
crazy. But
yeah,
I understand what you're saying, because like a coworker of mine like to say, she said sometimes you got to laugh to keep from crying. And ever since she said that, like, it just stuck with me, because you know what? Sometimes you really do have to laugh to keep from crying sometimes. Just because you laugh don't mean that it's not painful. Or just because you laugh don't mean that it didn't leave a scar or a bruise or whatever. It just means that, okay, it did, but you know what? I made it through. And sometimes you got to find humor in situations to make it realize like, okay, I was living in that, but I'm here now.
Yeah, exactly that. And in sharing, because whatever modality, so I find the feedback that I get, so after I've done a performance or whatever, people are like, oh yeah, when we share that, there is a unity that exists. And that's one of the surprising things as well, is that they're like, yeah, me too. I can't believe it. And then they laugh. And yeah, it might be sad. You might go home and cry, but and not in a suppressing feelings kind of way. I get on stage, and most of the jokes I'm telling are based on my real life. And I'm like, these people mocking me, they're laughing about my whole, and I'm like, it is ridiculous, isn't it? It's quite peculiar how life in general can be so absurd and funny. So that's it. And I think that's the common thing that people, that's why they're laughing. That's what they're like, yeah, I get you. That resonates.
But what people also don't understand is that humor and laughter heals. Laughter heals. When you laugh, it makes your body feels good. I don't know if anybody ever experienced anything like this, but have y'all ever had a time where you had a hard week? Like it's just been raining constantly for you and it's just been hard, and then you watch something or you talk to somebody and they say something and it was funny, but like the way your body reacted to it, people probably will look at you like it really wasn't that funny, but you just can't help it because your body needed that laughter, if that made sense.
Yes, yeah, so true. And it's that release. It is a release because we know, even scientifically, laughter can be one of the best medicines.
Exactly.
Yeah, like you said, the endorphins that are released, and even in that moment, not that your problems go away, but it's a bit of escapism, but it's good for you. In the same way that crying is good for you. You have to release whatever you're experiencing has to come out.
Yes.
So you can choose for it to come out with you fighting in the street, you going to jail, or you can laugh, you can cry, you can find other outlets.
Exactly that, because you need to release it. I did an interview with my brother, and that's basically what we were saying. You have to find some way to release it, because when you leave it pent up, it does nothing to you but harm. And people don't realize how much stress can really kill. I know people like to say that, but no, stress is deadly. It messes with you mentally, first of all. And to be mentally messed up is the worst type of way to be messed up. Because when your mental is not here, when your mental not strong, you really can't do much of anything if your mental is not a solid foundation. If your mental is messed up, you really messed up. So yeah, release it, people. Some stuff don't even really be that heavy for real, and you just need to let it go.
Yeah, fully agree. It's like a pressure cooker. But the point is, whatever you do, and you just said it beautifully anyway before, is that, yeah, we have to release it. Because, yeah, stress is they call it a silent killer. It's like a beach ball, you know. You try and push it under the water, it's coming back up. Exactly, it creeps up on you. So that's why you have to address it.
Exactly,
because it doesn't go away, but you know, it never goes away until you address it.
People like to say they be running from their demons, but them demons always catch up. Every time.
Yeah, they're with you.
Every time.
They left you. So you're trying to run. I'm running from my hand, but your hand is attached to you. You know, you carry it wherever you go.
Okay.
So, yeah.
And everything you do and how you react to stuff, all of that. Yes. Mm-hmm. So let's turn towards reflection for a moment. If your younger self could see who you become now, what would she be most proud of, and what would still break her heart?
She would probably be astounded at how audacious I've become and the journey of self-development that I'm on. You see, when I was much younger, I was a very different person. I was painfully shy. Before I became the clown, because that was a persona that I seemed to adopt at school, I think. And it was probably born out of trauma. It was the way for me to cope.
Yeah.
With all the stuff, but I guess it never really left me. I never really believed in myself. I had a defeatist mindset, so I would be like, I can't do that. Even before trying, I was like, I'm just not good at that. I'm stupid. Remember, I was told that, so I believed that. Right. So she would be quiet to see where I am now, even being a single mother, achieving my goals, to even to go solo. I went to Mexico. I've been to parts of Africa. Even 5 years ago, I would never do that. I would not. If you said you're going to do this, I'm like, you're crazy, not me. I don't do that. So I'm constantly challenging myself to come out of my comfort zone. But I think the thing that would still break her heart would be that some of those dragons still need to be slayed. Some of those things that existed from childhood to now. So we're talking about some of the generational traumas that, because, they're generational. So they're not eliminated in just one day, and trying not to, some things, yes, may be transferred to the next generation, but limiting that and safeguarding your children from that. My younger self would have thought that those things would naturally go away with time. They would go away with success and prosperity, but they didn't, because these things are bigger than me, and some of them had nothing to do with me, with generational stuff. You don't know what great-great-grandmother was doing and what she, you don't even know if you were sacrificed. You don't know. It's like, gosh, what's going on? So whatever they had going on now, it's repeating. It wasn't even your battle, but you now you're like, why is this so heavy? This feels heavy, and it's not my battle, but yet I'm having to do it. So all of that stuff. But she would be proud of where I am and the fact that I'm even conscious about these things.
I love that. And honestly, I love the way you speak. I feel like you speak so beautifully. So it's well thought out. And then even though it's still well thought out, you still add like that humor in it and that relatability in it that makes it just like, I don't know, it's just great. You really have a gift. And if nobody ever told you, let me be the one to tell you, is you just speak very beautifully. And I love that for you. And I love that for everybody that's going to hear what you have to say, because I don't know, I just feel like your story is touching, it's inspiring, and it shows people that no matter what you go through, no matter how damaging it was to you, you can rise above it. I love that.
Yeah, and I really received that. Thank you so much. Appreciate that.
Of course. To close it on up, if this conversation was a chapter in your healing book, what would you call it?
This conversation, because it's quite rich, it is. In fact, what we've been discussing, my book, Arise Kintsugi Queens, You Are Becoming All You're Meant to Be, is really that. It's a metaphor for life about how we embrace our imperfections and how we're valuable in spite of our traumas and our adversity. This chapter, this conversation would probably be something like, I see you. I have a chapter in the book called Do You See Me? But it's like, for your listeners, for you, for me, it's like, I see you. And I say that because sometimes people don't see you. And I've experienced this. And sometimes people are just all in your personal space. They have no spatial awareness. And sometimes, you be in a store and somebody come in front of you and I have to say, hey, do you see me standing here? Do you see me? Do you see me? And sometimes people are on their phones and they're busy. Even in everyday life, I'm like, can't you see her? She's on the verge. I'm reading her body language and she's about to give up. Can't you see that? Why can't you see that? Are you blind? Yeah, I think there's times in our lives where we do ask, can't you see me? I'm drowning in my pain.
Yes. Can
you see me? Please acknowledge me. Please don't invalidate my experience, because too often there's this toxic positivity thing that goes on, like, oh, girl, don't cry. Oh, your man left you. You find a new one. Oh, it's like, excuse me, my pain is very valid. At funerals, oh my gosh, what is it with us, especially in the Black community? Oh, don't cry. Why should you not cry? Is that not the most appropriate place at a funeral to cry? Where else should I cry? What are you talking about? Ridiculous. So I'm just saying, sometimes we're so busy with our own stuff, and I get that. Me too. We're not aware of the pain others carry. We don't look up to see it. Sometimes we see it, we turn a blind eye because it makes us feel uncomfortable. But I would just say, I see you, and you matter, and you're needed. Yeah.
That was so beautifully said. And it's funny that you said that, because that brings me to, I was having a conversation with my mom, and it was about Justin Bieber and how he just been on the internet just being like totally not how he usually be. And I'm like, do people not see this? Like, something is wrong mentally right now. Like, this is out of character, out of behavior, and what are people doing? And then my mom like to say, a lot of people be feeling like, well, he grown. Like, especially if they are grown people, they be like, well, they grown. Like, what could we possibly do? He's a grown man. You can't tell a grown man what to do. But I feel like in situations like his, for instance, that's a cry for help, whether they're a grown man or not. Maybe they need somebody to tell them what to do or to come in and give some type of structure now. Because, obviously, the mental is not together. It's all over the place. People start acting out of character. There's a reason for it. And I feel like us as human beings lately, you'll see somebody acting out of character and just be like, oh, well, that's them. And not even like, and that's crazy to me.
Yeah. Well, it gives people permission not to do anything, because if you acknowledge, I don't know about Justin Bieber's situation, but clearly he's traumatized and he's behaving like somebody who has struggled to trust people. People have betrayed him, including his own family. And I'm sure there's some substances that he may be using. That boy just needs a hug. Somebody needs to just guide him, give him a hug, and let him, give him that security that he needs. But right now, as with a lot of celebrities, they have a lot of yes people around them, isn't it? People, as long as the money come in, you're going to tell them to whatever. You want the drugs? I'll get the drugs for you. You want the girls? Here's the girl. Whatever. Right. So, they don't have that foundation. Exactly. But I agree with what you say. If you see me next time, if I come on your podcast and I'm drunk, I'm acting crazy, then that's just me. No, you have to wonder what's going on. Something is at the root. Get to the root.
Yes. That's how I approach anything. When somebody I'm talking to and he realizes out of character from them, because people don't act out of character. People tend to stay in a little, personality bubble, as I like to call it. That's what they are. When they start acting beside themselves, that's because they're dealing with something internally and they don't know how to go about it.
Yes.
That's how I look at it, and I think more people need to look at it. But then again, I am a helper. I just feel like that was one of my gifts to be put on this earth, is to help people, whether it's just helping them during a hard time or helping them to be the best version of themselves, whatever the case may be. I feel like that is one of my purposes here, is to help people. I enjoy it. I get a kick out of it. It's for me.
Yeah. And that's it. That's what leads to fulfillment. So you're acting in your calling. You're operating in that. Because not everybody has that gift, and some people don't recognize that.
So that was our last question. And so, as I like to do, I like to thank you, because you did not have to come back on here and do this again for me. And the fact that you did, OMG, I don't think you know how much it means to you. I'm telling you, I was on my social media like, oh my God, guys, I had this beautiful episode and it was flowing and it didn't even record. Like, I was so upset. OMG, I was so upset. And then I was just like, oh my God, this probably looks so unprofessional. I'm going to have to go to her and tell her, like, it didn't record. You said all that stuff for nothing. Oh my God, I was going through it. But when you was just so understanding and so willing to come back on and redo it, oh my God, it means the world. So thank you for not holding back. And your story is not just a survival story. It's a blueprint for rising, laughing, stumbling, and glowing anyway, as I like to say on a podcast. So to any of those listening, if this conversation met you in a tender place, let it linger. Let it do what healing does. Slowly, softly, and with time. Make sure you follow Maz on everything that she has coming forward, and check out Arise Kintsugi.
Yeah.
Yeah, go there. Okay, right.
It, girl, yes.
Arise Kintsugi Queen, the book. It will be linked once this episode drops. It will be linked in all episode descriptions. And until next time, as I like to say, keep surviving you. That was Maz's way through, and what a powerful reminder that healing doesn't always mean starting over. Sometimes it means finally standing firm in who you've become. Because like she said, laughter is the best medicine, and sometimes you just need to laugh it through in order to get through it. If this conversation spoke to something in you, take a moment to share it with someone who might need it. Subscribe to the Glow Letter on Substack for journal prompts and reflections tied to this episode. And don't forget to rate and leave a comment on Surviving Me. It helps the community reach people who needs to hear these stories. And don't forget to subscribe to the new Clubhouse group, the Surviving Me Inner Circle, to take the conversation farther and have a safe space to reflect, relate, and heal from episodes that touch your spirit. Until next time, keep surviving with softness, strength, and soul. And no matter what page of healing you're on, you're not alone and you're not behind. Keep going through it, keep growing through it, and keep glowing through it. And I will see you next episode.
I've battled the silence, I've wrestled the shame, faced all my demons and called them by name. This ain't for sure, it's deeper than deep. I'm surviving me.